the Morgan You Know podcast. Time to talk a little sports. Usually we have a group of people, but hey, it's just me and you today, Williams.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. We'll make it work. We're just two Bears fans over here, pumped about Ben Johnson.
We're just two Bears fans going to talk about Ben Johnson. And what bigger news in the world of the NFL right now is my awesome headset because my other things weren't working. What better news than the Bears getting their number one guy? This never happens. They didn't even bring him to the complex or anything. They did a Zoom interview. They're like, no, we got him. The fact that they lost, and we'll talk about that later, and the Bears are ready to pounce. It just shows so much goodness right now, right? This is a good thing.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. There's some rumors out there that the Raiders were involved for about $8 million a year, and we came up from the top rope and just jumped down on at $13 million, if you believe the rumors. So, man, it's just it's a pleasant surprise from a organization where it's just the lack of leadership from the top has been evident from when we started rooting for the Bears. So for them to actually think that they did something positive for this team is so refreshing. And we finally got the quarterback that we want. We finally got the coach that we want. So hopefully we're in the right direction here going forward.
For sure. And an organization that is known for good press conferences, and by good I mean really, really bad press conferences. He actually had a good one. He came out and said all the things you wanted to hear. He said, Caleb and I are going to sit down. We're going to throw the playbook out. We're going to see what works for him, and we're going to continue to meld. And if he can't do everything right away and the team can't do everything right away, we're going to work on that. And he also said, we need to work on the offensive line because the offensive line is bad. Eberflus would have never said any of that. Nagy would have never said any of that. This is all new territory for Bears fans.
Yeah, and if you look at what Detroit did from the start, they revamped that offensive line right away and gave Jared Goff time to process the reads down the field, and with Ben Johnson's play calling, and they slowly got more weapons and more weapons and more weapons. But they started with that offensive line, so I would not be surprised at all. The Bears have 3 picks in the first 41 picks. I would not be surprised if 2 of those were at least on the offensive line. So, getting ready to go. And the draft this year is in Lambeau, so all those picks are going to get booed to
Oh
hell.
yeah.
So when that comes around in April. So
Did you see Johnson's interview where someone asked him, so hypothetically speaking, at the end of the game, if your quarterback gets sacked and there's 30 seconds left and you have a time, and he just goes like this, that was kind of cool. So I'm excited to see that. Excited to see who he brings in as the D coordinator because obviously we need to work on that as well. And he continuously said he's going to bring in that good offensive line coach. So I'm excited all around. I know Caleb Williams is excited. DJ Moore came home from a Disney vacation to be there. Now there's a little asterisk there. It was snowing in Florida, so let's just you know pump the brakes there. Okay. So very excited, Bears country, Bears nation. Listen, give us the off season. We haven't won we won last off season. Give us a little bit of time here before the season starts just to enjoy it, right, Williams?
yeah, man. I mean, there's rumors that he wants to hire Dennis Allen for defense coordinator, which Dennis Allen was not a very good head coach, but he is a pretty good defensive coordinator. So we've seen that happen numerous times in the past with the NFL coach. Like Norv Turner was not a good head coach, but he
No.
was a really good offensive coordinator, and list goes on and on. So that would be a good hire, I think, Dennis Allen on the defensive side.
Agreed. So Mike Vrabel, Patriots head coach. I think we talked about that last week a little bit. Really good move there. Bringing the band back together. Josh McDaniels coming back as the OC. He's learned apparently a little bit. He went college hopping and learned from the college game to kind of revamp his offense. Still getting paid by the Raiders as their head coach, so he's got to be in a great place right now.
Yeah. And what's wild is that last year I thought that the Bears should go get Ben Johnson and the Patriots should go get Mike Vrabel. I was a year early on both those, so hopefully they work out for both teams there.
You missed the bets by that much.
Yeah, that
Rod,
much.
Rod, just so everyone knows, missed the internet bill. Apparently, now his computer is on the fritz. He can't get it into work, and then Chris King has an emergency to go take care of, making sure everyone is safe and sound in Bloomington, Indiana. So, lots of stuff going on today in the Morgan universe. But we are here. We are talking balls and brew. We're talking coaching. Talking the New York Jets, Aaron Glenn, another Lions coordinator out. We're going to really see what the Lions are made of next year. What do you think about the hire of Aaron Glenn to the Jets?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, normally I would try to lean towards offensive guys getting the head coaching jobs, but the Jets need a whole culture change. And this guy, Aaron Glenn, he's more than just a defensive coordinator. He is a football coach. There's a lot of players that respect him, and he has learned a lot in Detroit with just seeing how good that offense runs, going up against that offense every day in practice, and I'm sure he's learned a few things from how to command the room, how Dan Campbell has the last couple of years. So, and he used to coach for the Jets back in the day. So I think this is a good hire for the Jets. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does. And there's rumors that he may want Aaron Rodgers back. If they do bring him back, they've got to figure out what they're going to do. Number two, I mean, they have to bring somebody in that is going to be ready to take in snaps, in season snaps, because he's. I don't know. What is Aaron Rodgers back in the Jets or not? What do you think?
Mm. I don't know. I've heard. I
See,
actually think he could end up in Cleveland. Um, yeah.
what a
How
locker room
about
that
that?
would be. What about Jameis, Deshaun, and Aaron Rodgers sitting in a locker room together? Why not?
What could possibly go wrong?
No, nothing at all. Nothing at all. Then we have the story of your, my, Rod's, Chris's Jacksonville Jaguars. They keep Trent Baalke. They interview a bunch of coaches who don't want to go there because Trent Baalke's there. So they fire Trent Baalke 3 weeks after they should have fired Trent Baalke. What an amazing just train wreck of a franchise right now, because they lost out possibly on Ben Johnson.
Yeah, and then it sounded like Liam Cohen was going to come back to Tampa,
Yep.
and then this all happened, and he's like, "Well, maybe that keeps the door open a little bit to possibly go down to Florida to coach them." So I don't know. That's really interesting. I think that would actually be a really good hire for Jacksonville because Cohen he did great things for Tampa in year one with them this year. So.
Rod, welcome to the show. Very excited to have you here, especially since I don't do the football show. I do other shows. I don't do the football show.
You don't do the football show, Jimmy. You would be able to comport yourself very, very well were I not here. You're a true professional, my man. That is why you are important to this podcast. Hello, Mr. Williams. Hello, Jimmy. I'd imagine you guys were speaking about the Bears. I guess I took from when I was jumping in, we're not saying that Liam Cohen is the coach of the Buccaneers yet. We're not calling that official yet.
Jaguars. Not yet.
Okay.
Apparently he interviewed today. He in quotes signed a new contract yesterday, but literally did not sign it. So we'll see what happens there. And Rod,
Contract schmontracts. What are you talking
they
about?
don't
This is
matter.
2025. It's a new
Um,
world. It's a new world.
Speaking of train wreck franchises, the Dallas Cowboys, Williams, who's their number one candidate?
That's right. Brian Schottenheimer, who I'm not sure why he is their number one candidate, but that's Jerry down there in Jerry, Dallas. So I yeah, this would be a monumental collapse of a hire if Dallas goes that way, which they probably will.
So Kellen Moore's also been rumored, Eagles OC. They know him as well. This just proves that they really didn't know what they were going to do. You know who'd be a good coach, Rod, for the Cowboys? What about bring Mike McCarthy back? Let's go. Why not?
I think Chris is actually in line to be coach of the Cowboys. That's why he's actually not with us right now. He's on
Ooh.
his way down to Dallas to interview with Jerry because Chris is not going to challenge Jerry either. And that's what it's all about being the coach of the Cowboys. You have to know the deal walking in there. So Yeah, Mike McCarthy probably would have been a good coach for the Cowboys, but they had plenty of time to sign him. So good luck to you, Jerry, whoever you're going to get. I am a little more concerned with a defensive coordinator that got hired. Williams, I imagine you guys haven't touched on this yet, but your guy, our guy, didn't really drape himself in glory last year, but he's coming to my Indianapolis Colts, and that's Big Lou Amaruno is the new DC for the Indianapolis Colts. Williams, should I be excited about this?
I think so. I think this makes a lot more sense with how you pair up the Colts offense with Lou. At least Lou, he can scheme things up. I mean, we saw him shut down a more potent Kansas City offense a few years ago in the playoffs in Kansas City, and that's a big reason why Cincinnati got to that Super Bowl. But he was just ravaged with injuries. I mean, this year wasn't his best year, but I think the Colts have enough talent on defense, and if you put a whole new different scheme there, I'm going to be really interested to see what the Colts can do on the defensive side of the ball this year. It's going to be totally different. So hopefully that pairs up with their offense, with their healthy offense. Fingers
The
crossed.
coaching carousel is in full swing. Watch how I bring this around, Jimmy. You said it yourself. I'm the football host because I can do things like this. So Big Lou is now the DC in Indianapolis, taking his job as the DC in Cincinnati is one Al Golden, who the last time we saw Al Golden coordinate a defense, it was the national championship game between the Buckeyes and the Irish. We had a lot of thoughts on that game. I had a lot of thoughts on that game. I'd like to think that I was proven right for quite a while in that game. And then I'd like to think that those of you that said Notre Dame had a fighting chance were proved right by the end of that game. And in the end, the $44 million team, the Ohio State Buckeyes, came out on the end. Jimmy Jam, you're nominally a bit of an Ohio State supporter. What did you feel like at the end of that game?
So there was a lot of OHIOs going on in the household. The kids are unbelievable Ohio State fans. My son's got a number 4 jersey. The kid is like 11, is like 5 years older than my son, but that's fine, no problem. I thought that first drive was amazing, but when you saw Riley Leonard, just how he was dead after that, you knew they were in trouble. They got scared, Rod, that second drive when they were backed up a little bit. They went away from their game plan. They got scared, and they didn't really get back into it until that second half. But they made a game of it, and we'll talk about it. The field goal, yes, you kicked the field goal there. It's not a hard decision.
Did they get scared or did they just get dominated in the trenches the way that I said they would? Because they're after the first drive, like you said, Jim, they used all the plays, right? The scripted plays that are going to work, the little tweaks that you knew you could use against the defense. And when you got to that end, Williams, all you had were a bunch of runs from Riley Leonard and not much else. So I was feeling really, really good about my prediction. I was feeling really, really bad about my Irish. That's the way it goes in the take economy, right? You sometimes are a little bit more worried about your take than you actually are about your team. But I didn't honestly think Notre Dame was going to win that game. So I didn't find myself crushed as it was rolling along. But I will admit, Mr. Williams, I found myself up near the end being like, can Notre Dame do this again? Are they going to get a couple of plays to break their way to win this game on some variance? What did you think as the game wore on?
Man, I love that first drive. I'll tell you that, but they just could not get off the field on third downs. I would have liked to see more zone versus Will Howard than man, but I mean that's
He
Notre
tore Notre
Dame.
Dame up. What was he, like 14 for his first 14? That guy was on fire.
Yeah, and it's difficult because Al Golden knows his team better than anybody, and Notre Dame dominated this year playing man. That's just a tough matchup versus those 3 Ohio State wide receivers when you go man like that. That's why Texas went zone, and that's why Texas had a better chance to actually win that game from the 1-yard line late in the fourth quarter than I thought they initially would or did. But yeah, Jimmy said it. I mean, those delayed QB draws worked early because you had that extra guy, the running back block the Ohio State defensive line. So every time they're getting 3, 4, 5 yards a chunk. But you just can't give Leonard what that would have been like 35 carries throughout the whole game. He had 9 on the first drive. So yeah, I really didn't think the offense really played that bad. I thought it was the defense. They just could not get off the field on third down. So a little disappointing, but they came back and made it a game. If they get one more stop there on 3rd and 11, Jeremiah Smith is just a freak of a freshman. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough, but hey, they were playing a national championship game and they were right there. So That's all you can ask for, really.
Listen, Notre Dame was absolutely decimated by injury. They got a lot of those guys coming back. They're going to probably get themselves another transfer portal decent quarterback because that's just the way that these games are played these days. So, I imagine Marcus Freeman will have them in the running again next year. He seems to be the real deal. It seems Denbrock is going to stick around, right? He basically came back to South Bend. So I imagine that we're going to at least have the same offensive coordinator. And Notre Dame had a tough offense last year to deal with. So, hey, things roll on in Notre Dame. Things look up here in South Bend. We are excited about that, but not as excited as we are here rolling into the best football weekend in the National Football League. Sure, you can have the Super Bowl, and sure, you can have all of your cool regular season weeks where there's a boatload of games to flip around and watch, but Championship Sunday, where you got two teams that know each other really, really well and are going to battle for all the marbles. These should be two fabulous football games. Williams, do you want to start chronologically, or do you want to start with the big matchup? Which one do you want to go with?
Yeah, we could start with the NFC, Washington and Philly. If you want, it was kind of a bummer of a weekend. I mean, for me, really, Washington beats Detroit. Detroit was kind of everybody's Cinderella pick. Not for this team, but just for their whole organization. And then the Rams falter late. I just would have loved to have seen Stafford get another shot at another
I was
Super
pulling
Bowl.
for the Rams. I don't know what it was about that game. Something about this Eagles team I just don't like. And so I was definitely pulling for the Rams there. I feel bad for our guy, Chris. I made the joke that he was actually interviewing with the Cowboys. He's not. That's not why he's off this week. He's still really, really bummed out about his Lions. He was riding hard for his Lions. He just cannot believe that they went out with the whimper with 5 turnovers and giving up a whole boatload of points to a rookie quarterback in the playoffs after that regular season. So, frankly, Chris couldn't post after the Lions completely choked the bit. So, Detroit, Chris, I'm sorry for all of you.
Yeah, and then the Ravens turned the ball over 3 times against Buffalo, and then Mark Andrews drops an easy 2-point conversion to tie the game. And so if you were rooting for the
real quick
Lions,
on
the
that,
Rams, and the Ravens,
Jim, let me go to you on that. The call by Jim Nantz. Do you love the call by Jim Nantz, or do you think the call by Jim Nantz makes it cemented forever a terrible play for Mark Andrews? Do you know what I mean here? Like, does Jim Nantz make it more about Mark Andrews with that great call? Because don't get me wrong, we were all thinking it, but Jim Nantz's call, I don't know. What your thoughts?
I think it heightens it, just like the "Do you believe in miracles" and all that, all those "Oh, he missed it" or the double doink, all that fun stuff that you'll remember forever. Yeah, it does heighten it a lot. And he had a costly fumble, and he just dropped it. I mean, that sucks. And Lamar, uh, is it playoff Lamar if his player doesn't catch the ball? No, I think he did okay.
Yeah, there's no doubt, Williams. I don't know that you can put this one on Lamar, and I had to get that in there for you because you know me, the broadcaster. I love that Nance call because it's just like he was us at home. I can't believe he dropped it.
yeah, and then I mean, so the Lions, Rams, and Ravens turned the ball over a combined 10 times in those 3 games, and then actually Kansas City gets outgained by Houston. So and I actually this was like the most variance divisional round I've ever seen in my life because all 4 teams that won got outgained by the losing team. I mean, I think that happened back in 2015, but I think that's the only other time. So yeah, it was just a weird, highly variance weekend. And yeah, I mean, Detroit lost 3 starters on defense that did not finish the game. So again, just the I keep on saying it, the luck factor for Washington is
All right,
just
well,
off the
let's
charts
hope we
here.
don't see that this weekend. Let's hope we see good football games. The Eagles and the Commanders matching up again. How do you see it?
Yeah, the Phillies favored by 6 or maybe 6.5, depending on where you shop. The Rams had success with motion on run plays last week versus Philly. The Eagles in the regular season were number 1 defending non-play action plays, but they dipped to 17th on D when the opposition uses play action. So I'm assuming that Kingsbury is going to use some motion and some play action here. And man, 1 sack taken over 2 playoff games for Jaden Daniels. That is unbelievable. That's awesome, but that rate is unsustainable. And it may sound like I'm picking on him, but his sack rate avoidance number at LSU last year was not good. I mean, that was a big reason that and behind that Washington O-line that was graded out 27th best O-line coming into the year. This is why I thought he would struggle in his rookie year. And 2 out of his 3 worst games of the year this year, EPA wise, were the games against Philadelphia. So the success rate metrics for this Washington team is going to come crashing down at some point. It's just a matter of when do you think that is going to happen? If it comes this week, then Washington's season is going to come to an end. If they stave it off for one more game, then they actually have a chance to hang around in this one. So, but one last thing here that's going against Washington. Since 2000, rookie quarterbacks in conference championship games are 0-4 straight up and 0-4 against the spread, missing the number on an average by 15 points per game. And Sean Hockley is reffing this game. He was the ref in the Washington game versus the Saints from earlier this year. I don't know if you guys remember that game. That was the game where they all rushed up to like the 3-yard line and the clock stopped when it shouldn't have. And they actually allowed the Saints to get off another play. And then they went for 2 for the 2-point conversion, but missed it. Washington won that game by 1 point. Ah, man, this Washington team is just cardiac kids, man.
My guy, Sean Hockley, Pro Entertainment. I absolutely love to see it. Jimmy Jam, this Philadelphia team, they anger me for a lot of reasons, right? I think what that is that like they should be good, right? They have Dallas Goedert, who is a pretty athletic tight end. They have 2 really good wide receivers. They have a quarterback who we're told is good. They have Kellen Moore, the sainted Kellen Moore, who is going to interview for the Dallas Cowboys head coaching position. And yet this offense is completely putrid unless they're handing the ball off to number 24. So don't get me wrong. I'm not going to bet against that guy who we just saw absolutely tear apart the Rams single-handedly. What do you see this happening in this game, Jimmy?
Yeah, well, it is what it is. I see the same thing. Why fix what's not broken? You need to give it to Saquon. Continue to give it to Saquon. Hurts, there's something going on with him. We'll find out after the season's over that he's just can't walk. He has no knee or something, no shoulder. But yeah, they have to continue to do that because Saquon Barkley just got to ride the train, go all the way.
I'm going team of destiny here, though. I'm going with Washington. I was all in on Jaden Daniels at the beginning of this year. Something about this team, something about Dan Quinn. That's my pick in this game. Williams, the Eagles try not to turn it over, and you said that the Commanders' luck is going to have to change. I'm not necessarily sure how that weighs out ultimately on your handicapping when you got one team whose basic entire identity is we're not going to turn it over, and then you have another team who said the luck's going to end up going against them. I don't know how that works out.
Yeah, man, I'll give credit to Dan Quinn here. We said that Goff last week was the number 1 quarterback versus man, and that Washington played a ton of man this year. But Dan Quinn realized that, and so he went with zone, a lot of zone in that game. And you saw the worst pass that Goff threw was that one that was returned for a pick 6. That was zone. He had 4 guys surrounding the target there, and Goff totally overthrew it. And that was the difference in the game, that pick 6 there. So the 5 turnovers from Detroit. This Washington team, I think this Washington team like steps into the analytics and they're like, you know what? We know that we're lucky and we're not as good as this other team, and so we are just going to play
house money. Nobody believes in us,
but we're going to play super high variance, and so we are going to go for it on 4th down. Yeah. I think they're just like their first down, 2nd down, 3rd down plays are to get to like 4th and short. That's what's crazy about this team, and so. Yeah, I mean, I'm a math guy, so I have to go against Washington because I know that at some point it's going to come crashing down. But I get why people like Washington here. It's an unbelievable metrics. And one last thing, everybody like 2 years ago was ready to outlaw the tush push. Remember this? The tush push from Philly has a success rate of 77%. Washington's 4th down conversion rate, 22% higher than the tush push. That's how ridiculous the 4th down rate is for this team. So at some point, yeah, the regression is coming.
All right, there we have it. But we're all Bill Simmons guys here, right? So Williams can say that he's a math guy, but we're all Bill Simmons guys here. And we've heard him talk about the team of destiny for years, the nobody believes in us team, and the team that has nothing to lose. And that's definitely the Commandos. Shout out to Joe House. He'll be eating in style and celebrating when his Commanders make it to the Super Bowl. But you could argue, Jimmy, that the Super Bowl in a lot of folks' eyes, is being played this weekend at Arrowhead. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes matching up again in the AFC Championship game. Jimmy, we used to see Brady and Mahomes match up all the time. Do you kind of start to get the feeling like we're going to see Allen and Mahomes or Mahomes and Lamar here for the next 4 to 5 years?
We are going to see that. And just like Brady, Mahomes gets all the calls all the time, doesn't matter. So, no, Rod, this isn't the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl has already been determined. Your Kansas City Chiefs are going three-peat, baby. Let's go.
Jimmy, Chris isn't even here, and you're going to bring up this cockamamie conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
The Chiefs' new uniform is black and white zebra stripes, huh, Jim?
They didn't flag Mahomes for flopping. I know there's not really a flopping call in the NFL, but that is completely ridiculous what he did. And the ref was right there and saw it. That should have been 15 unsportsmanlike conduct for sure.
Okay, I'm not going to defend Mahomes on that particular individual play there. But Williams, I know you're a studier of the refs. Okay, let me ask it to you this way: do you think there's anything to the conspiracy that Jimmy is trying to give airtime here, or do you think it's more what I believe it is, that we have a team here in Kansas City that understands crunch time, that has been in big time moments in big time games for year after year. So they're not going to make mistakes. And when you don't make mistakes, calls are probably going to go your way. Williams, what say you?
Yeah, there's a little bit to that, but I will say in their last 11 playoff games, they have gotten the team that they're playing has had more penalties than them 10 out of the 11 times, and the 11th they were just tied. So that's a little bit concerning. Jimmy Jam's right with with Mahomes just dancing all over the place. Aikman was disgusted by that, and quite frankly, I didn't know Mahomes was James Harden. I mean, embellishing every single call there. I mean, that he doesn't have to do that. He's better. He's way better than James Harden. I mean, you don't
Williams,
have
you
to
don't
do
need
that.
to start auditioning for the NBA show around here. All right, leave the NBA jokes to us. All right, you politely leave every day before we get to the NBA. You can't take a shot at James Harden. Only we're allowed to do that.
Oh yeah, he doesn't need to do that. And Jimmy, they might start throwing the flop flat flag because they might have to make that a rule.
Listen, Jimmy, this is crazy out of you, okay? When Dick Bavetta back in the day, when he was there in Chicago Stadium, giving every single one of the calls to your guy, Michael Jeffrey Jordan in the 23 in the Bulls black and red, you weren't going crazy then. So why you got to go crazy against Mahomes? When you're the superstar, you get the spoils. That's how it goes.
All right, here's the thing. When you have a cold and you have to sneeze a lot, you got to pause the microphone. And then you don't remember to take it back on. There's a lot going on here. Rod, calm down, okay? I was 17 years old when that happened, and this is basketball. We're not talking basketball. We're talking football, all right? And I guarantee you there will be a flag thrown for flopping, but it will be Josh Allen who gets the flag, and he will actually get hit in the head, and it will still be called a flop.
All right, we've wasted enough time trying to build the matchup up. Williams, you're the expert about football here. How do you break this one down?
Yeah, man. Since 2018, well, I should first say KC's favored by -1.5 almost everywhere. If you want to bet Buffalo, you can find +2 on MGM for the Bills over there. But since 2018, total number of wins, regular and postseason, KC's number 1 with 106. Buffalo is number 2 with 84. So the only difference, the Chiefs have 4 Super Bowl appearances in that time frame. The Bills, as we know, have 0. So it's tough to get past Mahomes, especially in Kansas City. And the Bills have struggled defending heavy personnel. Look for the Chiefs to go 12 personnel more with Kelsey and Noah Gray on the field at the same time. And what's good thing about for the Bills is Josh Allen does not take any sacks. Only 8% of his pressures in the regular season resulted in a sack. That was the best mark in the league. And we mentioned it last week how tight ends kind of tear up Kansas City. Kansas City gives up 8 targets to tight ends a game. That's bottom 3 in the league. So maybe we can get a Dalton Kincaid sighting. I know I've been talking up Dalton Kincaid forever, or it seems like forever to Rod, and just Buffalo just doesn't seem to pass to him. But he should be open in this game. And what's concerning about Buffalo is their D is banged up. Benford is coming off concussion protocol. Rapp, I don't think is going to play. Milano, I think he's going to play, but does he finish? These guys are extremely banged up. Yeah, it's going to be a tough game for. But I think it's going to be a really close game. And like we said last week, it's whoever didn't turn the ball over won those games. And Buffalo has only turned the ball over 8 times this year. They have caused 35 turnovers, but Kansas City doesn't really turn the ball over, especially at home. So does this game come down to who turns the ball over or not? That's the big question.
See, I love where you went there, Williams. Jimmy Jam, this game right here, right? You'd think, hey, exciting, whiz bang, we're going to get some points, right? But what the Bills and the Chiefs have actually become over the last couple of years is we are trying to not make mistakes. We understand that we have a quarterback who can make a huge explosive play for us at any time. So we're going to try to limit our mistakes, and we're only going to take those shots when we have them. And the Buffalo running game is sneaky good, and they seem really, really content to just grind it out. So my worry here is, will the Bills be able to keep the ball out of number 15's hands? How do you see this game going?
I see that going exactly like that, where the Chiefs need to keep the ball out of Josh Allen's hands because the Chiefs can't score. They haven't scored all season. So they are going to run as much as they can, short stuff. Kelsey's going to be playoff Kelsey again, and trying to keep the ball out of James Cook and Josh Allen's hands for sure. I'm not joking. I think the Chiefs are going to win this one. It's going to be a low scoring game, but the Chiefs will come out.
I've got the Chiefs as well. I want to see Mahomes in the Super Bowl. I think we're going to see Mahomes against Jaden Daniels, and I think we're going to see a Chiefs three-peat, and we'll just be excited about what Jaden Daniels might be in the future. That's where I think we are headed, so I got to take the Chiefs in this game. Williams, it sounds like maybe you're leaning Bills. Do I read that wrong? But maybe you're leaning Bills here.
Nah, I think I have to lean Chiefs in Arrowhead. I don't see. I mean, the Ravens turned the ball over 3 times. Mark Andrews dropped that 2-point conversion, and they were right. If he catches that, they were right there. I mean, tie game in Buffalo. I don't see the Chiefs turning the ball over 3 times. I think the Chiefs are just a little bit better than Buffalo, and then you give them a point and a half for home field, and that's your line there. So I would lean Chiefs.
All right, we will be back to talk more about how these games went last week. Williams, I'm going to get out on this. Who, take your shot right now, who is going to be the Raiders coach? Who is going to be the Saints coach right now? Take your shot. Come on. Shot in the dark. You're not telling anybody any odds. You're not telling anybody to put anything down here. Just your shot in the dark shot here. You got 2 more. Raiders, Saints. Who's it going to be?
Yeah, the Saints, I'll go with a geographical guy, a guy who was the offensive coordinator in 2019 for LSU, and Joe Burrow and Justin Jefferson, Jamar, one of probably the best college offense of all time. And I'll go with Joe Brady. I'll go with the guy who is offensive coordinator for this Bills team right now, and we'll see if they can hire or if they can talk to him after this week or not, or if they're going to have to wait a few more weeks. The Raiders' job is tough with Brady, being in the ear of Mark Davis. I feel like it's going to be an offensive guy, even though they don't have a quarterback really right now. I'll throw out Todd Monken, offensive coordinator from the Ravens. He has done a really good job in prior spots, and I have to believe that Brady has at least has a somewhat relationship with Monken, having gone against the Ravens and a few other teams that he's coached in the past.
Give me Joe Brady in New Orleans as well, Williams. I like that, but I like that for a different reason. The Benson's not exactly the most hands-on ownership group in the world. I think they're actually going to think to themselves, Tom Brady, they're just going to, that's all the association they need. So they're going to hire Joe Brady. And the Raiders sneakily are going to hire Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll's going to swoop in at the last minute and convince Mark Davis that he can change the culture there in LA. Don't worry that you don't have the players. I'm going to build this thing up, and guys are going to want to come to here because I'm Pete Carroll and I can build you a culture here, the dumpster fire that you've been. Give me Pete Carroll in Las Vegas. Jimmy, your 2 shots in the dark.
I like Mike McCarthy in New Orleans just to bring somebody in there who's going to bring stability to a team that really no one cares about, and that stinks because they've got some decent players on that team. And then I was probably going to go Carroll and then Munkin also for the Raiders, but I actually think it'll be Munkin. I think it'll be Munkin for the Raiders, but I do like Pete Carroll. You want to bring somebody in who's going to bring stability. He's 73. He'll be there for 4 years. Hey, guess what, Raiders? You haven't had a coach last 2, so you'll be fine. You can hire him. It's okay.
Just be wary when you're going to have the old guy for only 4 years, because then there can really be trouble after the old guy that can only stick around for 4 years. So I would just tell Mark Davis, look around for that. Read into that what you will. That's not this podcast. Williams, thank you so much for all your football knowledge. Do you have anything else for the people before Jimmy
Circle
and I
back,
talk a
perhaps.
little? There you go. Circle back, and old Williams circle back.
I've got one more thing, a huge long shot. We're talking Super Bowl MVPs. I think the Chiefs are going to get there. And what does Washington and Philly struggle to do on defense? They struggle to guard, defend the tight end position. I'm not going Travis Kelce. No, I'm going pizza bet. $5 on Noah Gray to be the Super Bowl MVP. If you put $5 on it, Jimmy, you win $3,500. Let's go, Noah Gray.
Do you know how many people have to die for Noah Gray to get the MVP?
I love it. That's a cousin Sal bet right there.
Hey, 4 catches, 27 yards, 3 touchdowns. Mahomes throws a pick, and so the 3 touchdowns gets him in. Super Bowl MVP.
If
That-
whatever, go ahead.
That is why he's our football handicapper, folks. See, he's got Jimmy flabbergasted. He's got me wanting to put $5 down on Noah Gray, and he's got you thinking about it as well. He'll be back next week to talk some football with us. Stick around here for a second, because I'm going to need Jimmy to pick me up about basketball. Yeah, I'm down a little bit. We're going to be starting off with the Rod Nation. Here we go.
Welcome to the Fast Break, and it's the Rod Nation already.
Yep, that's right, Jimmy. I love this sport, the National Basketball Association, basketball, as it were, invented by James Naismith all those years ago. And so many people out there in the world like to be NBA haters. Jimmy, you and I have heard it all of our lives. And right now, every single one of those people has absolutely grade A cannon fodder to fire both barrels at NBA fans like you and I. Case in point, Jimmy. Oh, these teams don't really play hard. They don't care about the regular season. Look at my Boston Celtics right now. Lethargic as all get out, losing games they don't deserve to lose, not playing tough. All right. These guys, they never even play. I pay for a ticket and I show up and they're not even out there on the court. We got Joel Embiid dealing with his situation. Paul George is in and out. Kawhi Leonard, Zion's in and out. And then what else do you hear from these people all the time, Jimmy? Oh, these guys, they just call their shots. They don't want to play. They just, wherever they go, they just get to pick and dictate where they go. Then we have Jimmy Butler in Miami, right? We have Jimmy Butler in Miami. We have the old staunch guard of Pat Riley on hand in Miami, and we're told that their culture beats all, it trumps all. And now these NBA haters have Jimmy Butler just sitting there flaunting it all, saying, I want to go to Phoenix, wearing orange in his hair, wearing Phoenix colored shoes. He's going to get shipped out of town. Oh, and one more, Jimmy. Let me top off one more for you. D'Angelo Russell. Don't think I didn't see your ridiculous quote as well. Something else you'll hear from all these NBA haters is some of these guys don't care about winning. They just want to pad their stats and put up numbers and make money. Well, D'Angelo, you said that quiet part out loud when somebody talked to you a post-game scrum after a Brooklyn Nets game, and you said, man, I really love playing free and easy basketball. I don't like being in the spotlight. Well, congratulations, D'Angelo Russell. Get your 14 points a game for a Nets team that's going absolutely nowhere. But hey, you're not going to be tired because they're only going to be playing you 23 minutes a game. Goodness gracious, Jimmy. This game I love is not putting itself on glory at the moment.
Well, that was the fastest 15 minutes in the NBA because you just went over everything I was going to talk about today. So thanks for that. I really appreciate you hitting all of them in the Rod Dem Nation. Yeah, it's not good when Zion comes back and then gets sick, and then he's got a back to back, so he can't play. Let's go to Joel Embiid. Let's go to the 76ers. What do you do if you're the Sixers? He hasn't even started his contract yet, dude. He's gonna make $60 million a year in 4 years. He can't even walk right now.
Listen, I know you're a Simmons head just like
Yeah.
me, so I imagine you probably listen to him and KFC reuniting. Shout out to those guys coming
Yeah,
back
let's
together.
go. Yes.
It's good to hear them talking. I kind of thought maybe they left on acrimonious terms, and Simmons kind of said what I think, that you if you're Philly and you can find somebody to give you an asset for Paul George or maybe even Joel Embiid, you got to think about it. But here's the problem: the East is too bad, Jim. They're probably the 10 seed no matter what they do, and then you've got too many teams who are going to lose too many games in front of you. So that's top 6 protected pick. Like, I think Philly's kind of damned if they do, damned if they don't, right? And Daryl Morey and Nick Nurse, the two guys calling the shots, they know they could be fired. So I think Philly's got to keep trying to win, and that's bad because they've tried to win all year long and it hasn't gone well for them.
Yeah, the bad thing with Philly is they're at their lowest point right now. They're at the 11th seed with 15 wins. The Nets aren't going to pass them. They don't want to win. They're going to
No.
trade Cam Johnson. They're going to trade anybody else they have that's worth anything. The Hornets have 11 wins. Brandon Miller out for the season. So you're going to have Ball just getting 50 points a game and losing. The Raptors,
Congratulations, though, to the NBA for getting it right, Jimmy, and not having LaMelo Ball in the starting lineup for the
I
East.
agree.
Come on.
I agree.
LaMelo be on the All-Star team, but he didn't. Come on, if he was a starter, then it's just another joke thing. Like we're playing
Another,
and one
yeah.
basketball at that point.
And then the Raptors and the Wizards are a fun 6-win team, but they're not passing them either. So really, the 76ers are going to be in the mix with the Bulls and the Heat right now, especially if the Heat, well, if the Heat lose Butler, they might actually be better. So they do need to make a decision what they want to do. And that top 6 protected pick, it may be worth just shutting Joel Embiid down and going.
Do you
Going in a
remember
different
why
direction.
that? Do you remember why that top 6 protected pick out to the Thunder is, Jimmy? Do you know what it was for?
Oh, Al Horford?
Yeah,
Yeah.
dumping Al Horford after they signed him to the big contract to get him out of Boston. They dumped him to Oklahoma City. Then remember, Oklahoma City sent him home for
Yeah.
like the last 2 months,
Yeah.
and then we all forget about that because he's
You're
been
too good.
rejuvenated.
Go home, and then
Yeah.
he's an NBA champion. Would you trade Joel Embiid for Al Horford right now? You probably wouldn't, but you'd get more time
Absolutely
out of
not.
Horford.
Get him beat away from my Celtics. Listen, I just told you right now the Celtics aren't interested in playing basketball. Yeah, so bring me a guy who's also not interested in playing basketball at the moment. Joel Embiid, no thanks.
Let's talk about some basketball. We had Victor Wembanyama going home, coming home back to France, and unfortunately, the team he played was our Indiana Pacers, who were doing pretty well, but got beat by 30 in a double-double by Victor Wembanyama today.
Jimmy, I'll say it right now. I've not looked at any of our social media feeds and any responses to last week's episode, but I'm not sure that I'm allowed to call them our Pacers anymore after my just random shot and attack at Tyrese Halliburton last week, calling him the fake superstar. So I'm not entirely sure that my guy Dax will even talk to me again, and he definitely doesn't want to hear what I say about the Pacers, but they didn't drape themselves in glory today over there with the Eiffel Tower in view, did they, Jim?
No, they did not. But hey, they've been on a good run here. And yeah, you were a little. I think you were a little Rod Nation to all episode last week, and just
Yeah, I
Tyrese
was angry.
Halliburton took the shrapnel. So I mean, that's okay. No
He
issues
is a
there.
fake superstar, though, isn't he? I mean, he's
No,
a
come
fake
on,
superstar, isn't he?
come on.
We'll
He
see.
is,
I could listen. I'd love nothing more than to be wrong about Tyrese, right? I'd love for this
yeah.
Pacers team to turn around and get one of the top 5, 6 seeds in the East. You know what I mean? And actually and get back to winning around and show people it wasn't a complete fluke last year. I'd love that, but I'm skeptical.
You did talk about the All-Star game for something that no one cares about. A lot of people care about the voting and the starters and who's on the team for whatever reason. It gives us something to talk about, which is nice. The Knicks representing well with Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. 5 years ago, if I said the Knicks had Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns as their All-Stars, what would you have said to that?
I'd have been like, aren't those guys in the West? That Jalen Brunson, he's going to be with the Mavericks. They're not going to just let him go for nothing, are they? I definitely would have said that. And then no, the Dallas Mavericks decided to let him go for nothing. And then I'd have said to you, well, why's Minnesota trading Karl Anthony Towns? Wouldn't they'd get rid of Rudy Gobert or Mike Connolly or somebody else before they just ship Karl Anthony Towns out of town for Julius Randle? That's the other thing I'd have slapped you for. If you'd have told me they were trading Karl Anthony Towns for Julius Randle, I'd have definitely said no way they'd do that.
Well, and then I tell you, hey, guess what? The other guard is Donovan Mitchell for the Cavaliers, who are on a 70-win pace right now. You wouldn't even know what to do.
No, I definitely wouldn't. It's good to see Mitchell there, but is he really the best Cav, or is maybe a guy in the front court for the Cavs their best player, and he got shut out a little bit there, Jimmy?
Yeah, my boy. I love me some Evan Mobley, and he's having a hell of a season this season. Unless you were talking about Jarrett Allen, or unless you were talking about one of the other Cavs that are also having a fantastic season as well. Then you have Giannis and Tatum to round things out. You like to have the old school people there, one team guys. We like that a lot.
I like that you said old school now that you're about to announce the West lineup.
Dude, I listen. We've been doing this is like our total. This is like 350 episodes that we've done on this podcasting
We're
network.
grinders, if nothing else, right, Jimmy?
The more you know. By the way, your oh, we'll talk about that later. The old school people: Steph Curry, Nikola Jokic, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander's actually been in the league for a while too. So
Yeah.
that's a pretty good starting lineup, though. I'll take that. I don't know for an All-Star game. I don't know how well they're gonna play on that one. Although LeBron could have 40. You never really know.
But I mean, we're at like what? We're at LeBron's at 21 All-Star appearances, right? Durant is at 16 or 15.
Something like that. Yeah.
And then Curry's got to be at 12 or 13 himself. You know what I mean? So like we're talking damn near 50. I mean, that's insane.
It is, and it's if they actually played and played well, but now we have it's different teams now, isn't it?
Oh, that's right. There's like this weird 6 guys on the team, right?
Well, now how are they doing this then? I don't know.
No, it's 8 guys. That's right. They're doing 3 8-man teams, and then there's the weird like it's supposed to be like the rookie all stars, and I guess the G League is involved. Which, because that's what we all want to see, right? Is we want to see some guy from the G League going up against LeBron James and possibly break his knee in an all-star pickup game.
I want to see Max McClung win the NBA slam dunk contest again.
I haven't heard his name again, which I told all of you. I was so right on that argument, Jimmy. I love that you brought that up.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what he does. That's his gimmick. That's fine. Let's see. We talked about Victor. We talked a little bit about Jimmy in your.
No, here's what we do, Jim. Let's go out on a positive note. We can't do the hardwood hierarchy because our guy Chris isn't here, right?
Yes.
We don't actually open the table at the restaurant officially until football is over. But you and I could start talking about a couple of people who are definitely going to have to be standing outside the restaurant when it opens for the MVP table discussion, right?
We can, for sure. Does it have to be Jokic again? I mean, I think he's got to be in the discussion. Look what they've done. We thought they were down and out, and now Russell Westbrook is playing amazing.
That's a very good point. How many bonus points does Nikola get for rejuvenating our guy Russ? But I think instead of you having a knockdown drag-out fight between a guy in the West and a guy in the East and 2 guys that play the same position, I think you're going to have a knockdown drag-out fight between 2 guys in the West that play different positions. Shea, I think, is going to have to continue to be in the running to beat our guy Roman Reigns at the head of that table. Now, I'll be the guy arguing for, hey, let's not forget about Giannis. Let's not forget about maybe somebody else that shows themselves near the end of the year. But I think it's probably a 2-man race.
It is. There's other people that you could talk. Karl Anthony Towns. Look what the Knicks are doing. Tatum's always kind of that 5, 6, 7, 8. I think
they're going to need to put it back together though for him to get anywhere.
And then the issue with the Cavs is they're all very important to the. So I mean, Evan Mobley is not your MVP. It's got to be. I agree. I mean, I think it's going to be a Jokic and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander going to the wire, and it's probably just whoever's going to be the number 1 seed.
See, that's why I wanted to talk this out, Jim, because I don't know that the table is going to be as interesting discussion as we want it to be sometimes. So we might have to.
We have to fight for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th spots. That's the big one. That's
right.
What everyone cares about.
Fighting for just acknowledgement. You're not here for an award. You're just here for some acknowledgement.
All right. Well, next week we might have some trades. I know trade deadline's a few weeks away still, but we may have something coming up.
Do you want your Bulls to trade Zach LaVine, Jimmy?
Yeah, I kind of do. I think so.
You don't want to keep him around because he's been pretty good this year.
He has been good
better
this
than
year.
Him.
No, he's been very good this year. He can get hurt at a moment's notice. I didn't want them to re-sign him when Sacramento, what is it, 6 years ago now or whenever that was, probably 4.
Put that offer sheet out there.
I didn't want that to happen. But no, great for the Bull. That's awesome. But they're just kind of middling again and again and again.
That's true. You do kind of want to bottom out, and it's tough to bottom out with him on the squad. I get that, but I'm just like, I don't know that you're going to get great value for him right now. So I think you might have to be stuck with him again for at least the rest of this year. Get rid of Vooch though. Come on, let's put Vooch on a contender at least.
It would be nice to see him get on a contender for sure. So lots to talk about coming up. Hopefully, Chris King will be back with the King's Harvard hierarchy, and Rod will calm down a little bit with the Rod Nation. Tyrese Halliburton was scheduled to be on the show tonight, canceled for some reason. Not sure why. We'll get with him later on that. But with that, you have been listening to the Fast Break on the Balls and Brew podcast on the More You Knows Podcasting Network. Goodbye, Internet. Welcome to the Yeah We Know podcast, part of the More You Knows Podcasting Network. You're there with Jimmy and Rod. We are a week and a half away from the 2025 Royal Rumble emanating from Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm pumped. How pumped are you?
Well, I am really, really excited. I don't know that I have been as excited to head down to Indianapolis as I will be this upcoming weekend in quite a while. I don't even know if I was excited to head down to All-Star Game in my fair city of Indianapolis last year as I will be to head down for the Royal Rumble. Yeah. It was doing that too. But I saw that my guy, Joe Hendry, has confirmed that he will be at WrestleCon in Indianapolis. So we know that he will most certainly be in town, Jim. That has me excited, but you didn't think I was going to get past the opening of our wrestling show and not go absolutely hog wild crazy for the fact that they finally, Jimmy, after years, it felt like years out here in the desert, just searching for any drop of Charlotte Flair to return to my WWE. There it was, a wonderful vignette of Charlotte Flair working out and drinking champagne and getting out of expensive cars and being on a yacht. And I loved every second of it. Bring back my girl, Jimmy. We finally have some Charlotte Flair on WWE TV, even if it is just a vignette.
So Charlotte Flair is going to come back and model for the company. That's wonderful. I'm very excited for her to do that. Was she wrestling very much in that?
She was working out. She was doing rehab stuff, Jim.
I'll believe it.
Listen, she's coming back to take over Maximum Male Models, all right? She's coming back to take Maximum Male Models where they really should have went, all right? You need somebody with the acumen and the bloodline of a Charlotte Flair to really have the models take off.
Did you say bloodline? Is she going to? Anyway, yeah, it's going to be great. She's going to be back at the Rumble. She's probably going to be number 30, and we'll see what happens. She may win it all.
I had this thought the other day. Have they ever tried to make 30 be more of a thing where they had like a tournament for it, right? And then like you win this tournament and then whoever comes out on top gets to be number 30. Have they ever had 30 be more of a prize the way that you can win the stupid briefcase or you can win a stupid crown?
Yes, they have. Don't ask me the next question you're going to ask. I know that's happened at least once.
But clearly it did. I'm not going to ask you when, but clearly it didn't go too well because it wasn't a thing that stuck around.
Yeah, I just think it's the excitement because 30 is the person you want to be the big. You want 30 to be, John Cena returning when you thought he was out for 6 months. You want 30 to be someone huge. You do not want 30 to be Rey Mysterio. You wanted 30 to, or Dolph Ziggler. Although Dolph Ziggler may be in the Rumble this year, he's in TNA, and I can't remember if we talked about it or not, but TNA, NXT. They did sign a new deal. We could see Matt Hardy. We could see Jeff Hardy. We could see Joe Hendry, which I think we're going to see Joe Hendry. I think we have to see Joe Hendry. He's the new TNA champion.
I believe.
I would love to see him come out 1 or 2 so he can get the full microphone entrance and talk and things like that. I think.
Jim, what else we have to do is like we have to set you up with some sort of like a hidden camera or something, right? So just like you can film my reaction when the Joe Hendry music does hit, right? Like it's very possible that your lovely children will be there with us, and it's very possible that. Well, I know that Jackson will absolutely wear me out if I accidentally hit him, but Izzy might accidentally take some shrapnel. You know what I mean? I don't know if Kim Jamrisk is coming along this time.
Let's go. Big Vinny's coming. We got everybody. We're gonna have a blast in section 3, whatever we're in. But yeah, I think we might have to be those people, that do the TikTok stuff because I don't know if you know this, Rod. We finally got a nice following on TikTok, and then the United States of America shut it down, which I thought was great. But now it's back, so we're good. The Taylor Sheridan show is doing very well on TikTok. By the way, those TikTok people. Download the podcast. Listen to the podcast too. It's great. I mean, I guess we could just do TikToks. We don't have to talk for hours on end, but it'd be nice to listen to the whole thing.
Well, hey, certainly people are lovely to take in snippets of us, but we would appreciate if they would try to listen to longer periods of the podcast. But that's great that we're out there. Taylor Sheridan, man, it's a
Yeah.
fun little show to listen to. He's someone that's a little misunderstood. I don't know that we are the perfect scribes to talk everything about him, but I think we did it justice. Give it a listen. It's fun stuff.
The Ali Larder clip did very well. A lot of feedback on that. A lot of people agreeing with us actually. So I thought that was pretty cool. Derek did a good job.
Well, that's of course
on
the
that as
Mrs.
well.
Morgan. Anytime
Yes.
you get her involved with the point, people are going to agree.
Yes, of course. And you can go to themorganog.com to read Kate's blog for sure. Her ambitions as a writer blog that she does keep up to date every now and then when she has time to write, because she has two very, very high maintenance children. Well, one high maintenance children in van to work with.
That's
There.
very true.
The Royal Rumble is a week and a half away, but Rod, dude, we got a Saturday night's main event this weekend, because why the hell not? Let's just throw everything out there. The Royal Rumble only has 3 matches right now set for it: men's, women's, and the ladder match between Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens. And I will tell you this: Jackson and Izzy are definitely wrestling fans when it comes to the big shows and things like that. I have gotten inundated every day. Jackson, who's declared for the Royal Rumble? Who's declared? Anybody else declared for the Royal Rumble? LA Knight. Yeah, LA Knight. Fire on his promo on Friday. That was nice.
Listen, you're never going to get me to come on here and say a bad word about LA Knight's ability to talk into a microphone, Jim.
Sure.
I'm never going to tell you that he can't do that. But I will agree with your kids asking you who is declared for the Rumble, because I believe this
Joe
year
Henry.
they have really, that'd be great. But they've ginned up the excitement for this, right? You don't typically get the top guys at the card all duking it out and saying, I'm going to be in the Rumble. And that's definitely what we have brewing up this year. And I'm pumped for it. I think we could get a bit of a longer Rumble. The Rumble's always going to be long by nature, but I think we could get some spots near the end here where we got these guys going at it for a while, couldn't we?
We could. And this is another one of those years where you're not really sure who's going to win. I mean, you probably have 3 or 4 people.
Stop it. You know who's winning.
It could be Cena. It could be Punk.
You really
it could
think
be
it could
Roman
be
Reigns? It could be Roman Reigns. He could win.
Do you really think it could be Cena? Do you really think it could be Cena?
They're talking about it too much, so I don't think it's going to be Cena.
Neither do I.
But they're also talking about Punk a lot, and who'd be more angry than Punk losing a Royal Rumble match?
Okay.
And then they still have a couple months till WrestleMania. If McIntyre throws him out, Seth Rollins finally gets a one-up on him and throws him out.
Stop. Seth Rollins apparently is just around to lose. Jim, don't make me go there. Don't make me go there.
Speaking of losing, Gunther versus Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship. And I will tell you, Jey Uso is going to get the biggest reaction of the night. But, Rod, will Jey Uso defeat Gunther for the championship?
I'm inclined to say no here, Jim. I really am. But there's a part of me that's like, are we going to cash in on this Jey Uso thing? Are we going to put a belt on him other than the Intercontinental belt, which we stripped away from him rather quickly so he could get back involved with his brother and his cousin and Sami Zayn in the big bloodline matchup? So you could convince me that Gunther could lose here to Jey Uso, and that could do a whole lot of stuff that would be cool for the fact that we need 2 days at WrestleMania, right? Like you just spoke to it. We don't even have matches at the Royal Rumble itself. So you could tell me there's a lot of story that gets written out of Jey Uso winning. You could get some serious fan service. All that said, I can't pick against the Ring General.
Yeah, because do they have Uso win and then rematch at the Rumble and then Gunther win and then do it to Uso again?
Right.
The place would go nuts if Jey Uso won the championship, because it would come out of nowhere. It would come so far out of nowhere that I don't think he's going to win the championship. I think it's going to be Gunther for sure on that one.
Yeah, you're right. Gunther will be celebrating on the Riverwalk, all the great German cuisine they got down there in San Antonio.
Exactly.
Austrian, I guess Austrian cuisine. Sorry, Gunther.
It is Austrian. We do have some the Celtic as well. We have Sheamus coming in, and we have Braun Breaker against. He's the Intercontinental Champion going against Sheamus. It's the only championship Sheamus hasn't won. They can't take it off of Braun Breaker here, can they?
No, because Braun Breaker, basically, you could file a missing persons report about Braun Breaker the last couple of weeks, right? And here's the badass who's we're told is the future of the company, charismatic, athletic as all hell. Still not going by Steiner, but we're embracing the Steinerish of it all
Sure.
much, much more. So, you know what I mean? He comes across as a second generation, third generation superstar, the other thing we love to talk about in the WWE. But I, I don't know if they know what they want to do with Braun Breaker yet. And I think they know all they have with Sheamus is the continued dangling of the Intercontinental Championship. So, yeah, I think Braun probably wins this. And he has a good match with Sheamus, and that's at least enough to be like, well, hey, Braun's had a great match with Sammy, and now he's had a great match with Sheamus. So, you know, he's like, I guess he'll sit in almost a Logan Paul kind of zone where like he's a champion and he's a big enough deal because he's a champion, but we just don't have to see him all that often.
If you want to send the crowd home happy, Sheamus um, or Jey Uso winning a championship would do that because you don't have very much else. You got Braun Strowman and Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu's amazing, and he is kind of scary. I'm not going to lie. He's going to destroy Braun Strowman, and he's going to get over very big here.
Should we like let's just sidebar here.
Yeah.
Are we positive Braun himself is okay? Because I don't know that
No,
he
he's
even
not.
looks all. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like I just like Braun, bud. We love that you're back, and we love the monster of all monsters. It's a good little gimmick, you know. And we love big dudes in the WWE, but like if you're not well enough to be out there, my man, I don't want to see you hurt even worse. You know what I mean? So like going
Yeah.
up against Jacob Fatu, I'm just like we're gonna be trying to pull something off, and Braun's not gonna be strong enough. You know what I mean? It's gonna look like he's gonna give it, and it's gonna be scary at some point, Jim.
Yeah, we do want you. We care about the people here. We really do. You know, it's all fun and games, but if someone's actually hurt, we don't want that. Women's World Championship: Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax. Who you got?
I mean, I guess I have to have Rhea here, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
you
you have to have Rhea here because
Yeah.
I don't see. We all don't like Nia. We all know Nia's big, but I don't see what benefit you get from Nia wiping away Rhea because we just had the ultimate high of Rhea finally getting back atop the mountain and dispatching with Liv. So my question to you is: you said Charlotte's definitely coming back for the Rumble, but they did tease the vignette. I mean, could we see her show up for Saturday night's main event to get her even more excited for the Rumble? Like, could that be something that happens in this match? Because she's definitely got a little bit of history with both of those women.
So that I mean that could also be something where at the end of the man, it depends when this goes on. I mean, if this goes on last, I guarantee you she's in. But you know, Rhea Ripley can get the win, and all of a sudden her music hits. Charlotte comes out and says, "I'm coming for you after I win the Royal Rumble next weekend." Easily. I mean, it writes
Yeah,
itself.
that's kind of what I meant. So I definitely got to go with Rhea here, but I want to continue to shout out Nia Jax here, Jim, because people don't like her
Correct.
and they're not supposed to like her.
Correct.
But I think she does, at least on the Annihilator, Jimmy. At least on the Annihilator, she seems to have gotten your memo where she's not sitting directly down on them. You can see where she is hitting the ground clearly and taking away some of that blow and then sitting down. So she's trying, Jim.
Good.
She's
Good
trying.
for her. Good for her. Listen, again, I've always loved the look. I've always liked, her aura, but just in ring stuff isn't. Who am I, right? Yeah, I know. I'm just a guy in a basement right now with Luka Doncic behind me and a Bears gnome. The Raw crowd on we're gonna we'll get just a couple more things. The Raw crowd on Monday was weird because Sami Zayn cut a heck of a promo and no one really cared.
Yeah.
He I mean I felt bad for him because that deserved a little bit better. He wanted to win the world title. He's got to win the world title at some point. Is he the one who beats Gunther again? Maybe he has Gunther's number,
Ooh,
but he's not
I
going to win
like
the
that.
Rumble. He's not going to win the Rumble.
No, he's definitely not winning the Rumble, but it's cool to see that a guy like Sami Zayn can still just come out there and they are giving him that spot, right? Like you said, I
Yeah,
felt bad for him that the crowd wasn't there, but you're like, all right, Hunter's still giving him the spot. You know, here's a guy who's won a title at WrestleMania 2 years in a row, right? Here's a guy who gets to fight with Roman Reigns at War Games a couple of different times. So, you know, Sammy gets to do all of the big things. And as I've said before, who stands in the ring better and earnestly, Jimmy,
yeah.
earnestly tells you something better than Sami Zayn? Absolutely nobody. And so I guess what I would say is that crowd wasn't interested in earnestness. That's what they weren't interested in, right? They didn't care about that from Sami Zayn. They wanted a little more of the pomp. They wanted a little more of the circumstance, a little more of the fake. And that's fine. Sami Zayn's real. And some people don't like real. Our dear old man friend, Chris, he's
Yes.
not a huge Sami Zayn guy.
No.
Also, someone that doesn't really like earnestness.
or truth telling. Anyway, Adam. And then Kevin Owens came out, and obviously they have such a long history, and he did
That was
mention
awesome.
it is. And the crowd again, it's like, guys, he just said let's main event WrestleMania together, which would be an amazing feat for them. Going one on one,
Which
and
they
heck,
are
why not?
definitely not doing.
Definitely not doing. But it's okay. I think Kevin Owens is winning the ladder match at the Rumble.
But I just love when you talk about let us be rewarded for time watching, right? So the
Yeah,
minute that Kevin Owens came to the ring and his music hit and all that, right? You just were like, okay, cool. What are we getting? You know what I mean? All the times where KO turned on Sammy turned on KO. You know what I mean? Like the say KO's handcuffed to the rings, right? And Sammy
yeah.
hits Roman with the chair. You know what I mean? Just so many moments with those guys. And then, like you said, the crowd was weird. It goes to show, Jimmy, live events, the crowd themselves can take us out of things.
Um, I I I asked my family to leave the room when Penta and Pete Dunne wrestled. I'm not gonna lie. I just needed a minute to myself. I I've seen Penta wrestle. I haven't seen him wrestle as much as I have in WWE. I just didn't watch it. I don't watch AEW as much. Sorry, kill me, right? Two things about Penta. Number one, he sells fantastically. I thought he hurt his knee last week, but I was like, no, he's actually just selling that. And his arm this week, he was selling a lot, or elbow, what I think was his arm. He was selling a ton in that match. Had a solid match. Again, if you want to get somebody over, Rod, you put them in the ring with people to get them over. Chad Gable, Pete Dunne. You're not going to get any better than that. They're doing a good job with Penta so far. Let's continue that going on.
They are. What I appreciated out of Penta there is he's one of the few people we have seen wrestle with Pete Dunne, other than, say, a Sheamus or a Ludwig Kaiser or a Giovanni Vinci, who can sell all of Pete Dunne's joint manipulation stuff, right? Some guys just don't know how to remember, oh, yeah, he's been working my shoulder the whole match. I got to drag this thing. You know what I mean? Like some guys just can't remember that well enough. And so I'm excited to see what Penta continues to bring. I continue to be skeptical. I've been around enough to know that luchadors have never really dominated the scene in the WWE, but this guy's got a different kind of luchador look. He can speak a little more English than some of the other luchadors, so
Yeah.
let's go. Let's
It's the
go. I'm
Penta
all here
era.
for it. Yeah,
I
I'm all
I
here
do
for it. But as I say all the time, Jim, I don't know if we got enough room for the Penta to be unleashed, right? It's a little bit like you yelled at me during the football show for talking about basketball. Now I'm going to talk about basketball during the wrestling show.
Okay.
There's only one ball, sort of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if we've got Roman and we've got KO and we've got Sammy and we've got Drew and we've got Seth and we got Phil and we got all these other people that we say have to be a big deal, it's going to awfully hard to then always be making sure that we're keeping track of Penta because we got Shinsuke over here we got to worry about. We got LA Knight over here. And oh, by the way, we still want Bronson Reed to be something. So we'll see.
Yeah, and he doesn't have to be in the any title hunt or anything like that right away. It can be a while. Just to keep having good matches and people saying, the holy shits and all that, and the
He's
Mexican
doing that. He's
Destroyer.
doing that.
I guess we
I'll
call
watch him wrestle anywhere. Like if you tell me that I got to go a couple of miles down the road and pay $20 to watch Penta wrestle, I'll do that because the dude can absolutely go after it in the ring, and that's enough for me right now.
Well, 1 week we are going a couple miles down the road, a little more than $20,
A
and
little more.
we will get to see Penta wrestle. Okay, if Chris was here, we would have led the show with it. We had Seth freaking Rollins, we had Drew McIntyre, and all Seth Rollins does is lose, right?
I got a hat on for my guy. I don't have a 40 here. I have a Mountain Dew Baja Blast, but I'm just gonna pour a little bit out for my guy Seth Rollins. It's rough. But what I would say is this is why Seth Rollins will go down as one of the all-time greats, and the fans will never turn on him ever because Seth has no problem laying down on his back and getting guys over. All right. Jimmy, I want to do one other thing here on the wrestling show. All
Yeah.
right. This Hulk Hogan thing continues to keep coming up. All right. It continues to keep coming up, and I keep seeing it printed and said places that Hulk Hogan was booed because he's a Donald Trump supporter. No, 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 no. I'm sorry. Let me clear something up for you right now. Hulk Hogan was not booed because he's a Donald Trump supporter. I got more news for you. A bunch of people in that crowd of the WWE show have zero problem with Donald Trump. So he was not being booed for being a Donald Trump supporter. Hulk Hogan was being booed for coming back to the WWE, a place that he never got anyone else over ever. It was never what Hogan did. You got Hogan over. Hogan didn't get you over. He came back, and what did he come back to do, Jim? He came back to sell something to him. He didn't come back to help get somebody over like other legends have come back. He's not coming back to do a run like John Cena or a run like The Rock did. He's coming back to hawk his stupid beer. So Hogan got booed for being a bad guy who doesn't truly love wrestling and only loves himself, not because he's a Donald Trump supporter.
Yeah, I think that was pretty low. That was lower on the list. I agree with you completely. I mean, it's on the list, but it's pretty low on the list. It is more the he's a bad guy. People didn't care, and it was just, yeah, it's so tough because growing up in the '80s and '90s, when I hear that music, you smile. You do because it's cool. It really is. It's a great song. Really gets you pumped up. And then the guy comes out and it's like, yeah.
You're like Bubba the Love Sponge, and you just start running down the list. You know what I mean? Gawker, and you
Yeah,
just start
that
running
one,
down the
that
list.
one, that one. Yep. He never said anything defensive about Jesse Ventura. Oh, I said something. It's like, come on. On that note,
But like I said, Jim, the
yeah,
reason I brought it up was to say that that's why Seth is a great, okay? Because Seth realizes that he gets to make CM Punk be even bigger and be on a rocket ship towards whatever story he's going to tell. He gets to know that Drew McIntyre gets raised up again, and he just continues to be a pillar for the WWE. He continues to show up time after time. He continues to be a little bit injured. And I think, unfortunately, that might be where we're at. He's losing because he's going to kind of go away and not be around very much anymore. And damn it, he's earned it. And it's making me sad.
well, he said he has 2 good knees now, so hopefully he does. Next week we are going to do our Thursday night live stream as we always do, and then probably I would assume on Saturday at some point late in the evening we are going to have at least 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 people on the stream
Yes.
talking some Royal Rumble reactions. Definitely watch our what do? We do Twitter, X, whatever
Yes.
it's called. Yes, watch that. We're gonna
We're going to do
have
some
a great
YouTube
time.
shorts can be out
YouTube
there. You can
shorts.
find our stuff on YouTube. And shout out to the Luke and Bills, Adam and Sarah. I know you guys are going to be there. Shout out to my radio station boss, Brad King. I know you are going to be there. Shout out to the Markoviches, Bill and Melissa and their kids. Come see Jimmy and I and the family. Let's do a picture. Let's grab a drink together there at the venue, whatever. Come see us. Let's go. Chop it up with us wrestling fans. It's community.
Their seats will be better than ours. And with that, you've been listening to the Yeah We Know podcast, part of the More You Knows podcasting network. In the ring with Jimmy and Rod.
And Chris, we missed you, buddy. Hopefully all is well. And you really don't have to stay away. I wasn't going to be that sad that your guy Drew beat my guy Seth. All right. It's okay. I'm a big boy. I can deal with it. I can deal with it way better than you can when you get Brian Schottenheimer as your coach of the Cowboys.
That's why he's not here. It's that. Goodbye, net. Yeah. You know what? This is fun.
I love this.